That's good. That's the time. That's the day. All right. Everybody ready there? You guys ready there? Father, we ask to just find people with open eyes and open ears as always. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right. Tonight is Thursday, October 13th, 2022, and this is my little Bible study. We're back in the book of Exodus again. Okay, tonight we're going to do chapters 10 and 11, and then next week we're going to start on chapter 12. Well, we're going to probably go through all the way to chapter 12, but I wanted to be able to take chapter 12 in one sitting. And if we tried to stick it in with 10 and 11, we found out before that just goes too far. I start stuttering and can't read, and it's just hard to focus for that long. So I want to, and we should begin law then in chapter 12, and that's something I want to cover pretty good. We talked a little bit about law before. But tonight we're back in with the plagues of Egypt, all right? Now, you've heard it probably said in your life that the difference between a terrorist and a freedom fighter is what side of the line you're standing on, really. And that's just true just around the world, and it's true to this day. It'll be true till there's no more flesh on this planet. Now, these plagues are a lot like that. Whether you consider them to be a miracle or a plague just depends on what side of the line you're standing on. And the line here in Egypt is that line that separates Egypt from the land of Goshen, which is where all of Israel has been growing up for the last 400 years. I mean, that's a long time. You know, they've been in captivity longer than we've been a nation, you know. So there's a lot of things changed with these people as they went in, and I'm going to draw that out as we get out into the Exodus. You'll start to see this mentality of these people, what it really is. All right? But then there's a little group with them, too. I'll bring that out, too. That people often forget about with that, but we'll just bring that as it comes. Let's take it out. Let's start with chapter 10, verse 1. We'll pick it up there. All right. Now, we've had quite a dismantling of the gods of Egypt. Right? Frog gods are basically the water gods. That's what the frog gods actually would represent. They're pretty much toast. We've had flies, lice, boils, blood to water, water to blood. Let's see, there's more. Hail, hail. Hail was the last one, right? Just killed all the cattle and all the donkeys and the other kind of god types that they actually had in Egypt. So you've seen just the systematic destruction of the gods of Egypt, and that is exactly what God said he was going to start out to do, because he's going to do these things and destroy these plagues or these miracles wherever you're standing, that it would make a difference in the long term in Egypt. And you'll see that actually kind of come to pass over the next couple of chapters. All right. So verse 1, here we go. When the Lord said unto Moses, Go in unto Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart and the heart of his servants, that I might show these my signs before him, and that thou mayest tell in the ears of thy sons and of thy sons' sons what things I've wrought in Egypt, and the signs which I have done among them, that they may know that I am Yahweh. Now, this sons and sons, this just means generation to generation, year after year, continue to tell this story about the Exodus from Egypt. I got you. Go for it. And Moses and Aaron came. Well, hold on, we're going to just wait just a minute. We are on pause for just a second. You good for now?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
No, if we need to stop again, not a problem. Let's see. We're on verse 3, all right? All right. And Moses and Aaron came into Pharaoh and said unto him, Thus saith Yahweh, God of the Hebrews, How long wilt thou refuse to humble thyself before me? Let my people go, that they may serve me. And again, this is the same repeated command. It's the only thing that's been asked is just let my
Said it
people
like
go.
7 times.
Yeah, over and
6 times,
over. Right. Many, many times. So there's been no other demands placed upon Pharaoh except the hardening of his heart, of course, and then the plagues then after that. Verse 4, Else, if thou refuse to let my people go, behold, tomorrow will I bring locusts into thy coast, that they shall cover the face of the earth. Okay, now this word face here, and you remember in Ezekiel where we said it was Aeon was the symbol, and it meant the eye. All right, well, this face here is the same. Phalo symbol as Aeon, and it means just like it did in Ezekiel to look. Or it means the eye, actually. So what he's saying is that they shall cover the eye of the earth, which you'll get in other particular parts of the Bible that the eye is the mirror to the soul. Okay. And it's really just talking about, when we talk about locusts, well, okay, we just finished the book of Revelation, chapter 9. Yeah. Well, you're going to get a couple other references to things that we studied in chapter 9 of the book of Revelation here, and the locust is one of them. The big difference is these locusts will eat and consume everything that is green, and then the book of Revelation, you remember the locusts are told not to consume anything that's green.
Right.
Yeah, the only people that they could hurt were the ones that didn't have the seals of God in their forehead, right? And they find out that the faces of the locusts weren't locusts, they were actually men, and they're made up of, flesh men and women, fallen angels and demonic forces then to make up the entire locust army then. And this is just kind of a setup for right. So you get a little bit of a switch, but you also get the same kind of an idea. You'll see here that they consume everything. All right, everything is possible for them to consume anyway. But anyway, they shall cover the eye of the earth, that one cannot be able to see the earth, that they shall eat the residue of that which is escaped, which remaineth unto you from the hail, and shall eat every tree which groweth of you out of the field. Right? So if you remember right, you had some stuff that was blooming, some stuff that sprouted already, and the hail destroyed all that. But remember, the wheat and the barley hadn't booted yet. Well, from between the time of that and the time of the locust, the wheat and the barley have booted. Right? So now the locusts are just consuming that as well. Now, another little thing about these locusts, this is the defeat of another group of gods called the seraphim, okay? And they were called locust chasers, and every city had their little seraphim and their little temple for the seraphim set up, and that was their job, was to make the locusts go away so that it wouldn't consume their food. And by having these locusts show up, well, that just shows you another defeat of another group of gods out of the land of Egypt. So here we go with that. And they, as being the locusts, shall fill thy house, and the house of thy servants, and the house of all the Egyptians, which neither thy fathers nor thy fathers' fathers have seen since the day that they went up upon the earth unto this day. And he turned to himself and went out from Pharaoh. All right, so that's a pretty big curse. That's a big thing, because locusts in this region was a big deal. I mean, this is something they were kind of familiar with. That's why they had a group of gods called seraphim that were locust chasers. All right. And Pharaoh's servant said unto him, How long shall this man be a snare unto us? Let the men go, that they may serve the Lord their God. Knowest thou not that Egypt is destroyed? So here you have even the Egyptians now are beginning to complain. And these people are becoming a curse, just exactly like it said. By the time I'm done, they're going to want you to leave. So you see this starting to kind of build now as they come into it. All right? And Moses and Aaron were brought again unto Pharaoh, and he said unto them, Go, serve the Lord your God, but who are they that shall go? All right? Who you want to take with you? And Moses said, We will go with our young and with our old, and with our sons and with our daughters, with our flocks and with our herds, we will go, for we must hold a feast unto the Lord. Verse 10, and he said unto them, let the Lord be so with you, as I will let you go. But your little ones, look to it, for evil is before you. Now, that's a threat. He's flat threatening them now. Okay, don't take your little ones. All right, do what I want, or something bad's going to happen to you. All right, so that's just a flat out threat from the Pharaoh of Egypt. All right. Now you got to remember this. This Pharaoh and Moses. All right, you got to remember Moses was adopted by. It would be probably the sister of this Pharaoh. All right. So Moses, that's just like an uncle, and this Pharaoh has to be like an uncle to Moses in some way. Even in Moses' memory, even though he's clearly allied with God, but this man, he still remembers this man from his childhood, and even his life probably in Egypt.
Yeah.
And that probably gives him a little bit of a foothold why he gets to be a little bit more mouthy.
A little more assertive.
Than most people would be allowed to. And of course, I think that's probably all God's plan. That's why he put Moses in there anyway, so they would be familiar with each other. Oh, gotcha.
Hey.
It might be, it might be dropping it.
Insane, I'm pretty sure. She just come over to my house and told Nicole that she wants to move into our den in 2 weeks.
Does she drink?
I don't know what's going on with her, dude. I'm gonna have a talk with this one. Me and her husband have already had a talk, and he's like, dude, just ignore her, pay her rent, go on.
That might be the best advice. She's wanting to move in now.
Yeah.
That's a little bit extreme on the
paper,
landlord.
my little sister's still there, so I'll just tell her, my little sister's living in the den. Sorry, it ain't gonna work. God.
Oh,
welcome to my life.
Yeah, renting's always rough.
Yes, it
always
is.
hard, no matter where you are.
All right, let's do this.
All right, we're on verse 11. He just said, Lord, not so.
You better leave your babies,
Not so. Go now, ye all that are men, and serve the Lord. For that ye desired. So that's what you wanted to do, right? But that's not exactly the truth. He was going to take all of Israel, and their little ones, and their young, and their old, and their herds, and their flocks. But now he's coming out. Now, you want to just take the men. He's like, no, that they were driven out of Pharaoh's presence. Verse 12, and the Lord said unto Moses, stretch out thine hand over the land of Egypt for the locusts, that they may come up upon the land of Egypt, and eat every herb of the land, even all that the hail have left. Something about the wheat and the rye. And Moses stretched forth the rod over the land of Egypt, and the Lord brought an east wind upon the land all that day and all that night. And when it was morning, the east wind brought the locusts. Now imagine this. This wind here, this word is ruach. We've been introduced to this word in Genesis, and it's the word for spirit. So not just this is a wind, but this is a wind driven.
It's a
by
supernatural
spirit.
wind.
Right?
So
Yeah.
it started suddenly and is real weird.
That's right. And it comes from the west all day and all night, so it's blowing them in from somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, wind literally is blowing them from somewhere. A couple months ago, I was watching this special about the International Space Station, and it was talking about the experience that all the astronauts go through when they first get to the International Space Station, and that's viewing port. And the guy that was the commander, he said, the first trip for everybody, I've never seen somebody not cry when they look out the first time. They said just being here and seeing the Earth from this perspective changes the way you view the Earth in a very real way. And just one of these senior astronauts was talking about he is in the viewing port, and when they're not on duty, that's where they at, right? They come back they all take nice cameras, and they all come back with thousands and thousands of pictures of Earth from orbit. Right. And some of them are just spectacularly breathtaking. I mean, it's amazing. But he was telling the story about being in the port, and he was up there just taking some pictures, like he would be on his off time, and he could look out on the horizon, and he saw a haze. And the first thing he thought, okay, well, this is just residue of high altitude pollution due to human activity on the Earth. He said, but the closer he began to get to it, he began to see what it really was. And what it really was low altitude winds scooping up dirt in the Gobi Desert and then conveying them to the upper, into the upper atmosphere where the winds are moving, a couple hundred miles an hour.
And dumping it in the Amazon.
And that's why the Amazon is so fertile. That's why it's so fertile, because of all this topsoil that's blowing in from all the way around the world.
All the way around the world, When you mix all this kind of mineral together.
That's exactly right.
Super
So this, what he's talking about here, he could have drugged them in from anywhere. Right? 2 days away at whatever wind speed was. A day and a night anyway.
Fast hurricane wind speeds can get.
Right. In the upper atmosphere winds, sometimes that's 200 miles an hour. That's right. So. Yeah. And so there's actually a lot of science that connects this occurrence. I mean, I don't want to remove the supernatural element of it because, like I said, the ruach is spirit is the word for spirit as well. So. But nonetheless, I think that was just an interesting thought. When I first read that, I was like, ooh, I've seen this example for this, right, and it's really well known. Verse 14, and the locust went up over all the land of Egypt and rested in all the coasts of Egypt. Very grievous were they. Before them there were no such locusts as they, neither after them shall be such. So there was nothing like this before. Verse 15, for they have covered the face or the eye of the whole earth, so that the land was darkened, and they ate every herb of the land, and all the fruit trees, which were the hail had left, and there remained not any green thing in the trees, or in the herbs of the field through all the land of Egypt. So their food is gone. Now they have no gods.
No animals.
No food. Egypt's looking at some tough stuff here. I mean, now Egypt, of course, would have storehouses of grain and things like this, but nonetheless, this is severely upset their entire economic system, even that was actually going on in Egypt. Right? Verse 16, and Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron in haste, and he said, I have sinned against the Lord your God and against you. Now, therefore, forgive, I pray thee, my sin only this once, and I entreat the Lord your God that he may take away from me this death only. So here we go again. Same thing. This is old thing, right? And verse 18, and he went out from Pharaoh and entreated the Lord, and the Lord returned a mighty strong west wind, which took away the locusts and cast them into the Red Sea. There remained not one locust in all the coast of Egypt. So he cleans it completely out. Now, all of them being gone, that should remind you of the book of Revelation,
Yeah.
It's exactly the same way it goes
Yeah.
down there with the Logos army. Oh, I wish my nose would quit running.
Mine's starting to do
I
something.
know it. It's because the winter's coming.
I feel it.
Verse 20, but the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, so that he would not let the children go. Verse 21, and the Lord said unto Moses, stretch out thine hand toward heaven, that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, even the darkness which may be felt. Now, that is a darkness that's a heavy darkness. Now, I was in a cave once, and the guy giving the tour shut off the lights. He goes, see, in a cave, you can't even see your hand wiggling in front of your face. And, of course, when you do that, he flips on a light, and everybody's wiggling their fingers in front of their face. It's kind of funny. But literally, you can't see.
Yeah.
Now, that's what these people are going under. And listen to what it says. And Moses stretched forth his hand toward heaven, and there was a thick darkness in all the land of Egypt 3 days. So no light. 23, and they saw not one another, neither rose any from his place for 3 days. Listen to what it says here. But all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings. So again, which side of that line stands on here depends on whether this is a curse or whether this is a miracle.
Right, yeah.
All right? Now, it doesn't take you, of course, God, you don't take you long. Day one, go all the way back to day one. God is light. So, of course, he's the one that's providing the light in the dwellings. But all of Egypt, imagine that for 3 days.
An absence of light.
An absence of any
Not just a
light.
darkness, an absence of light.
Right,
Yeah.
right. There's a lot more. You can imagine being in that,
yeah,
right?
Dude, oh man, you wouldn't know for 3
Yes,
days. You'd
for
just
3
be a
days,
struggle.
right.
Starve and
Verse 24, and
God,
right.
yeah,
You'd be going
it'd be
sick of
awful.
it by the end of it, right? And Pharaoh called unto Moses and said, go ye, serve the Lord. Only let your flocks and your herds be stayed. Let your little ones also go with you. So he said, all right, this time take everybody, but leave your animals. So Pharaoh's just playing a game. So he's just trying one thing after another. Now remember, this is God that's hardened his heart, because if you remember
Yeah.
the very first chapter, they were afraid of Israel and they would really wanted them to go.
just go, yeah.
Yeah, but they were afraid they were
So
going to
many
hook
of
up
them,
with
yeah.
somebody else that was their enemy and overpower them.
Yep.
So this has just become a nightmare for Pharaoh and for Egypt in general. Verse 25, and Moses said, thou must give us also sacrifices and burnt offerings, that we may sacrifice unto the Lord our God. Our cattle also shall go with us. There shall not be an hoof left behind, for thereof must we take to serve the Lord our God. And we know not what we must serve the Lord until we come hither. All right, so we don't know. We don't know what we're going to
Yeah.
need. When we
We
get
don't
there,
know.
he'll call for the sacrifices, we'll provide them. All right, so we can't leave our stuff.
Can't leave, yeah.
Remember, Moses went back over and over and over. They'll take everybody, young, old, got a hoof,
All our stuff,
everything.
all our animals.
Keeps saying it over and over
We're
and over.
moving our entire nation,
right. And he keeps trying one thing, then the other. Right. 27. But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he would not let them go. And Pharaoh said unto him, get thee from me, take heed thyself, see my face no more, for in that day thou seest my face, thou shalt die. Now he just flat told him, you come back, I'll kill you. You're going to have to take Pharaoh with his face value on that.
Yeah.
And Moses realizes that. Listen what Moses says. And Moses said, thou hast spoken well. I will see thy face again no more. No problem. You're not going to have to look at me anymore. Now, let's go on to chapter 11. Here we come with the final plague, all right? And the Lord said unto Moses, but the darkness one, that's the one, that out of all of them, that would be the one that scares me.
I think it would mean
everything.
too.
It's everything else that you have to endure.
Yeah.
Endure the light.
This one is
endure the
you have
boils.
no idea.
You just have to sit in it. And to me, that would be the scariest of all of them, right? A complete absence of light.
Time just ticking.
He is taking away 3 days would be an eternity.
Oh man.
Right.
It'd be awful.
Yes, it would be utterly horrible, right? Okay, here we go, verse 1. And the Lord said unto Moses, yet will I bring one plague more upon Pharaoh and upon Egypt. Afterwards he will let you go hence. All right, and he'll mean it. And when he shall let you go, he shall surely thrust you out hence altogether. All right, so you're going to throw them out, just like he said. You're cursed, be gone.
Be gone,
I'm
we're
out of it.
done.
I'm done with it, right? Verse 2, speak now in the ears of the people. Let every man borrow of his neighbor, and every woman of her neighbor, jewels and silver and jewels of gold. He told them when they go, he told them a long time ago in the book of Genesis, when they go into Egypt, when they leave, they're going to go off a lot better off than what they went in.
Yep.
And that's what he's doing right here. This is just a payday for 400 years of service. That's right. Right. And the Lord gave, this is interesting, you can't ever forget about this, all right? And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. All right, God has that ability to do. When you're doing something and if he wants you to do it, he will put it in. It's amazing because when you really need to talk to somebody, you get there. It doesn't matter. It's all of it. He'll give you favor in people's sight. It's amazing what can actually happen. All of it comes out with that. All right. Moreover, the men Moses was very great. Excuse me. Hold on. Side of the Egyptians. Moreover, the man Moses was very great in the land of Egypt, in the sight of Pharaoh's servants, and in the sight of the people. So everybody liked Moses. They knew who he was. Even many of those that even 40 years earlier, when he killed the Egyptians, would still be alive and still remember who Moses was. Right? So he would have a really big backstory with him, including the fact that he grew up in Pharaoh's house and was a magistrate for Pharaoh in a very real way. So everybody had good respect for Moses, right? And Moses said, "Thus saith the Lord, about midnight will I go out into the midst of Egypt, and all the firstborn of the land of Egypt shall die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sitteth upon his throne, even unto the firstborn of the maidservant that is behind the mill, and all the firstborn of beasts." So not just men, but all the firstborn of the animals.
All the animals they managed to get inside.
That's right. All right. Now, this right here, it sounds like it's something that he's going to do, but in reality, this is a trade. What he does is he trades the firstborn of Israel for the firstborn of Egypt. It's a trade. And when they go out, well, the firstborn of Israel, he claims as priests initially. They're the ones that he was going to take for the priests. He killed the firstborn of Egypt, and he took the firstborn of Israel as priests. Okay, but because of some things that happened during the book of Numbers and the rebellion of Korah, well, the Levites, he chooses the Levites. He trades. He says, all right, I was going to do that, but now I'm going to take the Levites, and that's how the Levites become the priests. All right. So it sounds like this is something he's just doing to Egypt, but in reality, this is determining who the priesthood becomes.
Right.
Okay. Not only that, but Pharaoh. Pharaoh is the ultimate God type in Egypt.
Yeah.
He's the ultimate. This plague starts with Pharaoh's firstborn.
Pharaoh's firstborn,
Right. So that's where it starts, and it goes all the way down to the servants that are part of Egypt. Right. And of course, then all their animals as well. Except for, which we're going to find out. And there shall be a great cry throughout all the land of Egypt, such there was none like it, nor shall be like it anymore. But against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue against man or beast, that they may know that I am the Lord, that they may know how that the Lord doth put a difference between Egypt and Israel. So they're not going to be even any animals, a dog even is not of Israel that's going to be lost. All right. So he's really making a big deal, and he's really, what did he say? He said, "So I'll tell you, we'll see the difference between Egypt and between who God's people actually are." All right. Now that promise stands to this day. Okay, that's the thing. Now, if you can understand where the 10 tribes are today, when you can look around and you see them, you got to realize by understanding that makes you roots to the Old Testament Israel in its last of the land of its paradise, or the land of floweth with milk and honey. That's what I'm trying to say, and it's getting stuck in my head because I'm starting to get tired. But nonetheless, let's get on with it just a little more. All right, because we're almost done. "And all these thy servants shall come down unto me, and bow down themselves unto me, saying, Get thee out, and all the people that follow thee. After that I will go out. And he went out from Pharaoh in great anger. And the Lord said unto Moses, Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you, that my words may be multiplied in the land of Egypt. And Moses and Aaron did all these wonders before Pharaoh, and the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, so that he would not let the children of Israel go out of the land. All right, so once again, here we have the setup. Now we're in chapter 12 is where we're going to stop tonight. All right. So we finished all the plagues except for the last one, and we have it set up, and this is the death angel. Now it's going to get real specific in chapter 12 about all this thing, who's doing it and all that. It's often overlooked,
Really? That's cool.
by Christianity in general. But
I like
we've already
names,
laid
you know what I mean? I like knowing who is
right.
done what.
Well, it's like there's a lot of confusion about it. Like the angel of death often, like the Jews would tell you, or not all of them, but some of the Old Testament Jews, like if you talk to them, they'll tell you that this is probably the guardian angel for the spirit of Esau, which I find nothing. And you'll see though in next
Right.
week. Now next week is probably going to be a BV.
Okay.
All right, because we're going to be talking about Passover, and
Yeah.
so we're going to get a lot of stuff in that. That's the first law in the book of Exodus is Passover, and we've read right up to it now.
Right.
Chapter 12 is the law of Passover.
Okay.
And so we'll talk a little bit more about law and things like that, and then we'll get into the law of Passover. And then it goes from there where they exit, and there's some things happening which we'll see as we continue on our little march. Before long, we're going to be at Mount Sinai, where we have some cool stuff that actually goes down.
yes.
There's some real cool stuff that goes down
Transmutation
there,
and
right? but yeah, you'll see as we go.
Cool.
But anyway, you guys have a good night.
And Passover literally refers to the term of them passing over the homes with the lamb's blood, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yes. The term Passover, okay. It means, the term Passover at one point means the Feast of the Victim.
Okay.
Which you would see what it
Yeah,
is.
I
It's
see,
the
yeah.
Feast of the Victims of that. That's one of them. It means to skip. When you take it all to its root, it means to skip or
skip
to hop.
up,
Yes, it's literally the fact that if they had the lamb's blood on the door, the angel of death had to pass over
Because they
that
were
house
of Israel,
right?
yeah.
Because they were in Egypt that made the sacrifice that goes with it.
And realized that the one God was the one God. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And so it's not dependent just upon
Yeah, I got
Israel.
you.
It's
But at that
whoever.
point, essentially, those Egyptians are children of
Right,
God.
well, you're
going
to find out. You're going to
so-
find out there's a great mixed multitude
Yeah,
that leaves.
that's
It's
cool.
all Israel and all that you
Tons of
said,
Egypt,
and
yeah.
plenty, and then
And I'm
mixed
sure everybody
multitude.
around, and
Right.
then people on their travels, I'm sure, joined up. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, think about. Let me